there more to come out before this is over?
I think pretty obviously the answer to that is yes.
I mean, we're just scratching at the surface. Obviously, there's a lot more involvement of other players in it.
Tonight on Four Corners, the sorry story of how the corruption of cricket has been rampant for a decade, while those who are responsible for policing the game did nothing but cover it up.
We should have acted sooner, we should have acted with greater alacrity, and we should have done it better.
We put the accusations made direct to Wasim Akram. Have you ever tried to induce a player to perform badly?
Never.
It looks like you.
It looks like me, but it's not me.
It sounds like you.
It's a computer's.
The Melbourne underworld has been busy lately, burying its dead. Whatever the myths may say, there's little honour among thieves. Drugs provide the money, money provides the motive. There have been 22 gangland killings in the past 6 years.
No, I don't know who shot me.
Well, you have your eyes shut at the time, or?
Yeah, well, I've got no idea really who shot me.
And it's nothing to do with you that both of those two men are dead now?
No, it's nothing to do with me at all.
Late that night, attackers managed to bypass extensive security measures and clinically execute the kneeling couple.
Either he really, really did know them and trusted them and let them in, or it was professionals.
Tonight, a story that speaks from the grave. Relying on important evidence Hodson was unable to take to the witness box. His story is Victoria's secret, the long and morbid entanglement of organised crime and police corruption.
Paul Whelan, you are a shot bird. Resign, get out of it, no one's going to listen. Everyone knows...
Alan Jones drives Australia's largest city hard in the way he did his students as a teacher and his footballers as a coach.
You know, people say, what do you want out of life? And all I say is more advice from Alan Jones, because he's the smartest man I know.
A good proposal that job seekers who miss Centrelink interviews are going to have their payments suspended. Why not?
Tonight we look into that amazing mind and crowded past to ask what drives Citizen Alan.
This is Cheyenne Bedrai, and these are his parents, Zara and Mohammed. They're here in Australia because Mohammed says he wouldn't be alive if he went back to Iran. They made this tape in Villawood in secret. It's very likely they'll be punished for doing it. Mohammed Bedrai says authorities have accused him of preventing Cheyenne from eating just to attract sympathy. Right now, in the middle of our biggest city, a 6-year-old child is seriously ill. It wouldn't have happened if he hadn't come here to one of our detention centres. Cheyenne's parents are paying a terrible price for asylum. Yet we still don't believe they deserve our protection. Last month, Woomera was closed. In the end, 80% of those detained there were found to be genuine refugees and given temporary visas.
Self-harm.
Many who worked at the centre say they were pressured to stay silent about what they saw and did. It's only now that the full story is starting to be told.
You can't walk away from a place like this and forget it. The riots, the frustration, the lack of support from head office, seeing strong people break down, and I'm talking about detainees and staff, seeing people change over a very short period of time, knowing that those people will never be the same people again.
Our guide into this underworld is Iraqi refugee Hussein Nasir, wearing a hidden camera into some of the most dangerous corners of Indonesian society. Twice cheated by smugglers himself, Nasir is determined to expose the smugglers and shut down the cartels.
I must destroy these bad people and the people behind them.
Tonight on Four Corners, Smuggler's Paradise. How corruption subverts Australia's border security.
This is the man the United States believes is behind the horror and the appalling carnage of last week's terrorist attacks. Here in New York City, the army now patrols the streets, guarding the still smoking ruins of the World Trade Center towers. Deep in the rubble, thousands of the dead still lie buried, 2 months after the terrorist attack. Somewhere here too lie the remains of the hijackers, who chose to die in carrying out their murderous mission, for reasons that even those who were close to the man held to be their ringleader struggle to comprehend.
Mohammed was a very peaceful person, searching for justice.
He was a very nice person, really. This is Muhammad, what I knew.
When we approached Muhammad Atta's father, he was angry and fed up with the media. He said he'd only talk if we paid $25,000 US to the Palestinian Intifada. Without that, if we continued filming, he'd break the camera. The choppers arriving in northern Kuwait have come to collect the reinforcement troops of the 101st Airborne Division of the United States Army. They'll be taking us on the first leg of our journey to Baghdad. The soldiers heading for the capital are feeling both a sense of relief and a sense of vindication. In their camp in the desert, they've been beamed the pictures of Iraqi crowds cheering as the statue of Saddam Hussein was dragged to the ground.
Excuse, can I just ask you, do you mind if I just ask you if you feel better about the war since the news yesterday?
Yes, I do. Looks like things are actually getting better, and it seems like it's turning less into a war situation and more into a humanitarian situation. So I'm real happy to see that, and I'm happy most especially to see that the Iraqis are accepting the coalition forces. So that makes me feel a lot better.
6 days after the Americans had taken Baghdad, looting is still rampant. Paid employment has collapsed, the shops are closed, and very few people have access to electricity or water. We pull over outside what we discover is one of the many palaces that belonged to Saddam Hussein. One lone Marine is struggling to control what is happening.
No, Allah said not to steal. Ikra Quran? Ikra Quran? Huh? Go home.
People are even stealing the ducks from the pond. What's been going on here?
The fucking war's going on. Get back in there, Marshall. I don't know.
Four Corners has tracked down a number of the players, and tonight we can reveal how one small gem of Australian-sourced intelligence was seized on by the CIA, spun and gilded, and then presented by the leaders of the world as their best evidence that Saddam Hussein was starting to build a bomb.
Most of this was very sensitive and classified, and that which I can remember I really should not talk about in detail. Suffice it to say that Australia had a role.
And people were quite pleased with themselves, and quite rightly, because they'd played a very important role in what at that stage was one of only two pieces of intelligence to back up the claim that Saddam was trying to reconstitute a nuclear program. It was a gem.
Tonight we follow the trail of that small gem to tell the bigger story of how intelligence was hyped to sell the world the war. Former intelligence officers rarely talk about what they know and what they've seen, especially on camera.
The attitude was, you've only got to go out there and you'll find them. I was an experienced inspector, and I knew that there would be some indicators if they really had a program, and there were no indicators whatsoever. They couldn't have possibly hidden all of this. So I knew there were no weapons and there were no programs at that stage. And therefore our job was just to write what we had found.
All I remember from the incident was it was like being tackled by about 10 Pacific Islanders at once. I was knocked cold, landed on my face.
Next thing I know, I was on my guts and ears ringing and people screaming, and I sort of didn't know what happened at first. And then I looked back and the area that I'd been kneeling on was now just a crater, so that's when I realised that night he'd just gone off pretty much half a metre behind me, and can't really explain why I'm still here.
That's my friend. That's my...
For a month before the Bali bombing, Four Corners had been investigating a web of terror backed by Osama bin Laden's Al-Qaeda stretching across our region.
The Australian government says it has evidence that your organisation was behind the Bali bombings. What is your response to that?
Itu adalah bohong sama sekali, dan kalau memang punya bukti-bukti silahkan dibawa buktinya ya, silahkan membuktikan, dan itu sama sekali bohong, dan saya tidak merasa terlibat sama sekali.
It's nearly a year since Ben Tullapan was last here, outside the Sari Club at Kuta Beach, Bali.
I think the car was around here somewhere, just here.
Ben Tullapan survived the bombing by a thread. Both his legs had to be amputated. More than 60% of his body was burned. He spent 5 months in hospitals.
I'm so angry. I'm very, very angry. We've got to live with this for the rest of our lives. I mean, Ben can't grow legs again. It's a lifelong thing for us.
Habib is one of 2 Australians incarcerated in Guantanamo Bay, reportedly beaten, abused and tormented, and until 2 weeks ago denied any legal rights. The 2 Germans who named him have long since been released, and exactly why Habib is still being held remains largely a mystery.
Did you go to an Al-Qaeda camp?
Never.
Never?
Never in my life.
The government says you trained with Al-Qaeda.
Well, the government can say whatever they want to say is not true, because they've been saying that for a long time.
Did you do any training with Al-Qaeda?
I never training with Al-Qaeda.
Jack Thomas was about to go on trial, the first person in Australia charged with receiving funds from and providing resources to a terrorist organisation. If convicted, he was facing up to 25 years in jail.
Why should Australians believe that you had no intention of having any further contact with these people, of having any involvement in terrorism?
Well, I'm not going to convince anyone. I don't believe in killing innocent people, and I don't really care what people think. People who know me know that. I can't make people believe. As far as I'm concerned, words don't mean anything. It's just your actions that count. So, believe it or not.
He looks at me and he's giving me death looks because I was Muslim. Islam was the most hated religion amongst 57% of the people in Parramatta. That's how much they hate us. They'll rip us apart if we don't stand. If we don't stand up, we put our head down, that's it, we're gone.
Why are they so angry? And what is it that turns anger into crime?
This was the scene at Cronulla in Sydney on December the 11th last year. Nobody organised this rally, but the following text message had been sent to hundreds of mobile phones. This Sunday, every fucking Aussie in the Shire get down to North Cronulla to help support Leb and Wog Bashing Day. Bring your mates down and let's show them that this is our beach and they're never welcome back. 5,000 people turned up. Do you think people were looking for a fight?
Oh, definitely, yeah. There was a lot of people looking for a fight there.
That night and the following night, under the cover of darkness, carloads of angry young men drove from the western suburbs to the beaches in and around Cronulla, smashing, bashing and stabbing. Do you feel bad about going down there at all?
No, I don't feel bad.
Why not?
Because I want to get my a revenge.
It seems absurd to think that in 2 more months, Aceh will be able to do without foreign expertise. The sheer scale of the destruction in Banda Aceh alone is hard to convey on television. You can stand in a place where thousands once lived and see hardly a house standing in any direction.
For the next several weeks, Matty will take me inside his community, the hardcore ice addicts that roam the inner city of Sydney. An itinerant group who don't use their real names and never show us how they source their drugs. They call themselves skaters.
As international forces assist East Timor emerge from violence and mayhem, the political push is now on to force the country's Prime Minister, Dr. Mari Alkatiri, to stand down.
Islam!
Alkatiri is a terrorist, a communist, a Muslim, say the men at this rally up in the hills to Foreign Minister Ramos Horta. The rumours about Dr. Alkatiri are many and wild, but evidence is thin on the ground. It's here we're told for the first time that Alkatiri ordered his Minister for the Interior to hand over weapons to a secret civilian security team.
These
weapons were given by Rogério Lobato, but were authorized by Marie to give to members of the Fratling Congress.
This is what you believe?
This happened. It happened many times over.
As the Brethren have become politically more visible, Four Corners has been approached by former members concerned that the real story of the sect's family values isn't being told.
Get out of here, I'll boot the whole thing over.
Four Corners set out to uncover that story, but it wasn't easy. The Brethren wouldn't be interviewed, and their attitude to being filmed is hostile, as we discovered when we were quietly filming in a public Perth street.
We just realised that you're a camera crew, so we're just giving you crap. Okay. So who called you up here? Who called you up here? You opposers?
Are you supporters?
Supporters of what? Hey, just by the way, I'll just warn you in 5 minutes, if you don't get off... Have you got a fear of the government of God?
Are you believers? You're threatening us?
We are not threatening you. Are you believers? We are not threatening you. You are threatening us.
No, we're not threatening you.
Yes, you are. What are you doing here, you poor... Yes, you are. Do you believe in God? Do you believe in God? Get a real job. Yes, I do. I do believe in God. Waste your fuel, mate. Poor
The Brethren's leaders wouldn't appear on this programme, nor would they allow any families within the church to be filmed or interviewed.
If you want to see climate change happening before your eyes, scientists will tell you, go to the ends of the earth. And that's why we're here in the Arctic Circle. We're about to enter the fabled Northwest Passage. This is where so many early explorers lost their lives, trapped in the sea ice when they were searching for a shipping route across the top of the world. Last year, at the end of summer, the Northwest Passage was virtually ice-free for the first time in recorded history.
At 3 o'clock, 100 or so MPs and senators ran the gauntlet of an expectant media.
Do you think that they'll be that optimistic?
I think we're pretty optimistic.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
All right.
The committed and the recalcitrant converging on the party room. And they all know what's at stake. Not the leadership directly, not today, but who and whose ideas will dominate the Liberal Party and its policy on climate change. Minutes later, the Liberal leader surprises everyone by arriving in the office himself.
Too bad.
You got something for me?
I've got something for you, yeah. Should I go in?
Yeah, thanks.
Just, do you mind if I close the door? Thanks.
You're knocking off now?
I am, yeah.
Can I just ask you something, Mr. Abbott, since you've caught us? This is obviously a difficult night for you. Do you accept the Treasury's assumptions do you accept the conclusions that Treasury have come to about the hole in the budget?
On Treasury's worst assumptions, we still get a significant improvement to the bottom line, and I would strongly defend our costings vis-a-vis the Treasury.
The question is, though, did you have something to hide, and is that why you didn't show these costings to the independents in the first place?
To be honest, a bit of an offensive question, Sarah.
I'm only going on what they said.
It is a very offensive question.
Just picking up on what Mr. Catter said.
It's an offensive question from you because the fact of the matter is all of our assumptions, I think will stand up to scrutiny, and I am very happy to defend them. Now, I accept the Treasury wants to argue with some of them, but they are all eminently defensible.
The world's attention is on Julian Assange and not on Bradley Manning.
All the fame and all this hype about WikiLeaks and Julian's problems in Sweden. I mean, what are these problems in Sweden compared to the trouble that this private is in? I mean, this person who potentially is, I think, one of the biggest heroes for freedom of information in our time. So how does that relate? There's no relation in between these two things anymore. So that's what I don't get. Everyone should be talking about Manning and not about Julian's trouble in Sweden or in Great Britain or wherever.
God knows what happens now. Hopefully worldwide discussion, debates, and reforms. If not, then we're doomed as a species. I will officially give up on the society we have if nothing happens.
If he could speak from his cell to the rest of the world, what would he say now?
Pay attention.